Hey, we're at Cookytech. This is Ravish, your Flutter coach, and we're going to do something really crazy. We are aiming at a comprehensive training material for the Flutter ecosystem. Now, I have been developing Flutter apps since February of 2018, and since then, I have already put more than 10,000 hours into learning how to develop really high quality applications with Flutter. There is a plethora of amazing learning content out there from Angela Yu to Andre Risotto, not to forget our own MTech Viral and all of the amazing videos that he makes at such a high frequency. What I'm trying to do is add to that huge repository of content out there, but in a way that makes sense in production. And we are going to start off with the very, very absolute basics, and we're going to move on to the absolute top where, like, you gain enough confidence to build almost anything that is asked of you. We're going to start off with a small language tour of the Dart programming language and then move on to object oriented analysis and design problems with the Dart programming language. Then we are going to move on to some algorithm problems and some algorithm solving exercises that would help us become much more efficient with developing in the Dart programming language and also help us to learn some of the best practices, understand the inner workings of the language a bit better. Then we're going to move on to UI designing with the Flutter framework. We are going to understand in depth the different kinds of layout systems and how they work. For example, we have render box, we have render flex, we have render sliver, and we'll do deep dives into all of that to be able to build almost anything we have to or we need to build. UIs with animations and interactions and semantics, everything. Then we'll do a really deep dive into the best state management practices. What we're going to do is we're going to learn about state, we're going to learn about the challenges of state management, and then we're going to use vanilla Dart and Flutter framework to solve some of those challenges. And then we're going to move on to some of the well-known community packages and some of the well-known community architecture documentations like block, like get it, like provider, like getx. We're going to look into all of those and evaluate them on the basis of which problems they solve the best. At the end of this state management masterclass, we'll be able to pick the right solution for the problem that we face at that moment, and we'll also be equipped to understand which state management solutions to use in tandem with each other and which state management solutions they just end up competing and messing up your app. Then we'll go into the most important topic of all, which is testing. We'll get into unit testing, we'll get into integration testing, we'll get into widget testing, we'll get into golden files and why they are useful, what are the kinds of workflows where those things can really be beneficial for any app developer, and move on to more collaborative testing practices like test driven development and behavior driven development, and how different stakeholders can agree on a common language of doing things and they can give the spec to the developer, and then developer can generate the test functions, then write the test implementation, and then write the code implementation to satisfy the test in a way which allows the stakeholders to collaborate very frictionlessly. And then we'll move on to different courses like platform specific courses, for example Android for Flutter developers, iOS for Flutter developers, web for Flutter developers, where we'll look into common SPA frameworks and how they compare with Flutter, and common web APIs and how to leverage them when building with Flutter for web. And that is how far I have planned it. And as I gain more feedback, and once we are like completed with that path, which already is huge, looks like around 5,000 hours of work to me, we'll get into whatever the community asks from us. Once again, this is Ravish, your Flutter coach. We're starting this new journey. Support it. Let us know what you need of us. We are obviously open to suggestions. We're at Cookytech, and let's get started.